Okay guys, before I actually continue on with the next step of assembling this, I wanted to answer a couple of facts, or state a couple facts, just to give you some knowledge on the materials. Not too many videos on the internet go over the materials, ratings, and stuff like that. I'm using a combination of what's called PVC, that's the pipe. There's also another material called ABS, which I understand is not as strong as PVC. So that's the reason why I selected PVC. Now within the PVC, there's two types of material. There's one called Scheduled 40, which is right here. And then you also have Scheduled 80, which is right there. Scheduled 40 is typically white. Scheduled 80 is typically gray. So with this threaded slip fitting, you can see that Scheduled 40 and that's Scheduled 80 right there. The difference is its strength. Scheduled 80 is stronger than Scheduled 40. You also pay more for Scheduled 80. A piece of Scheduled 80 pipe is going to be 2 to 3 times the cost, maybe 4 times the cost as the same piece of pipe in Scheduled 40. Now, I couldn't find Scheduled 80 in this 4-inch PVC, so I went with Scheduled 40. I'm sorry, I couldn't find a Scheduled 80, so I went with Scheduled 40 because that's all I had available. But when you look at the thickness of this material, and also, as I mentioned before, my chamber, I had cut off the writing where it said the pressure, so I pulled out another piece just to show you what I had claimed, and that is that this 4-inch PVC Scheduled 40 has a rating at 220 psi. So, completed my part on that. We're going to be adding Teflon tape, and on top of the Teflon tape, we're going to be putting this pipe sealant, which just kind of helps bond. It eventually cures hard, and I plan on making it a permanent assembly from this threaded point around to here. And then I only plan on using Teflon tape here so that I can interchange barrel lengths here for experimentation. I'm gonna try a 1-foot barrel, 2-foot, all the way up through 5-foot, maybe even 6-foot, and I'll be cutting a bunch of these down to do that. So I'll have 5 different barrels that I could thread out from this point and put in the next one for testing to see how far the length of the barrel affects the launching capability, the distance. This is a 24-inch pipe wrench. I've got it adjusted and set up to be able to hold the 4-inch pipe here, and I got another 24-inch pipe wrench to hold my 1.5 when I come to tighten between here and here, threading it in. Believe that pretty much covers everything here. One more thing, this shutoff valve that I have here is actually rated to 600 psi. A lot of valves that I found were not rated for pressure that high. There it is right there, 600 psi. So that is why I selected that valve and not a plastic valve. Something else I learned is that what makes a launch successful and maximizes the distance is how quick the pressure is released from the chamber to your whatever you're launching out in your final thing. So the quicker you can release the air, the faster the impact, the further your bait or whatever you're launching will go. So a lot of people use that plastic valve that's a short handle, and you cannot get the same operational speed, the mechanical speed of opening that valve up, which impacts your launch distance. So that's another reason why I chose to get this style of valve versus the plastic one, on top of the fact that the plastic one is going to be at a much lower pressure rating compared to this 600 psi. The last thing I'm going to note is that because PVC is not designed for air pressure, it's designed for water and liquids, there is a difference of pressurizing it with air. It's technically more dangerous. That's why I used the strongest materials I could possibly find in the Schedule 80 the brass ball check valve or ball valve, I mean, and the best I could do in my pressure chamber at 220. That's pretty much all the information I wanted to give on this little section covering materials. We'll see you in the next video.